This chapter cements this fight as the best in this entire tournament. The next fight after this, I think, has a lot to prove because, man, what a finale for this fight between Agito versus Lolong. So many twists and turns, and you'll see exactly what I mean when I break down the chapter, but man, just want to sing its praises right now. I think this fight is so solid. But let's get into the chapter itself, and it is called Triumphant Cry. And it starts off where we left off in the last chapter, and that is where Agito and Lolong were facing off against one another. They'd sort of recovered from the exchange in the last chapter and are going to go at each other again in this chapter. And this time, Lolong and Agito agree that there is going to be no more talking from here on until the end. No more yapping. Let's go. And we then cut to the stands where Yamashita is standing there. He's stunned, and we get narration from him. So this is clearly him narrating what happened at this event and what his experience was witnessing this. And he talks about the 15 seconds that he was watching from that moment, and that it was probably the most intense 15 seconds of his entire life. That is literally what Yamashita says, and with that, they are going at each other. You can tell the art, the choreography for this fight was off the charts, but I understand why Sancho Fish took a break for this chapter, because if you didn't know, this chapter is longer than a normal chapter. It's like 24 pages long. But that aside, they go at each other, and Agito, of course, he throws a straight punch with his left hand at Lolong, and Lolong, he blocks it with his right hand towards his face. And you can see as he's blocking that, yeah, that is a lot of force behind Agito's punches. Like, Lolong's hand looks like it's like caving in a bit, but Lolong, he responds with his own left hand strike at Agito, but Agito blocks it with his right hand, and with that they sort of break up from one another because of the force of the impact of their punches. They sort of go back a bit, but as you can see, Lolong seems to be going back a bit more. The recoil for him is just a lot more severe, but he regains his position and takes his stance rather quickly. But Agito, he's on the offense at this point and continues just throwing another left-handed strike, but this time Lolong meets the strike with his forehead. And with this, because it's pretty genius that he's doing this, it forces Agito to go back a bit, because the force of Lolong's entire body pushing forward against his fist, he's of course gonna go forward. Like, the recoil from that is also gonna be pretty bad on his side, and this gives Lolong the chance to go on the offensive at this point. And on the offensive, he goes in, basically charges at him a little bit low and starts punching him at the side. So Lolong is punching Agito at his right side, but while he's doing this, he hasn't really guarded his face. He's kind of moving forward, so he has that momentum as well, but unfortunately his face is wide open, so Agito tries to hit him with his elbow on the chin, and he barely dodges that. In fact, I think the whole elbow attack by Agito is meant to hit his entire face. He just dodges it completely. But as he's dodging to go back to avoid that elbow, Agito pins Lolong down with his left foot. I think it is his left foot on top of Lolong. Isn't going anywhere anytime soon, and at that point Agito just goes full on offensive, and Lolong, he's also blocking a lot of punches Agito is sending his way. And Yamashita's like, he couldn't even hear the crowd, he couldn't hear the whatever was going on in that arena. He was just so immersed at what he was seeing, because it was basically an extremely high level exchange that he was witnessing here. Unfortunately for Lolong, Agito lands a punch, a straight punch from Agito, clean on his face, and with that we hear the narrator said, in the 16th second the balance shifted. So this is where things start to change in the fight, sort of. And while you think this is bad news for Lolong, it actually isn't, because he starts going on the offensive. He shifts his foot a bit so he could change his angle, and then hits Agito with his elbow straight on the forehead. And that sends Agito reeling back a bit, because that was a clean strike. But Lolong follows that up with a roundhouse kick, and we hear here Katihara's like, you do not see a roundhouse kick from Lolong every day, this is rare. And Katihara, of course, he emphasizes that he took both of those attacks straight to the head here, and he is still reeling from those two attacks, but Lolong, he does not give him a chance to recover from that, and he just leaps at Agito here and lands the invisible elbow straight to Agito's head. So 3 major strikes. The balance has shifted in Lolong's favor here. And even worse, Agito is bleeding from right above his left eye. And it is at this point in which I think it's Katihara, but it might be Jerry too, where they basically say, hey look, if this was a public match, the referee would have stopped the fight at this point right here. And of course some time is taken to gas up Lolong a bit, because he's performing quite well, and of course the balance of the fight is in his favor right now. And Yamashita, of course, he comments that he's using his smaller size to his advantage, at least to a certain extent, but that even though the balance of the fight has shifted to his favor, it's not over until it is over with Agito. But unfortunately for Agito, right now he is still sort of one knee on the ground, sort of. He's recovering from all those attacks he just took from Lolong clean, but Lolong doesn't really give him enough time for that. He sort of goes at him again, and this time he is charging at Agito, and Agito, he's sort of trying to, of course, get up as well, but while he's getting up, you can sort of see it, right? He's charging up the dragon shot as he's getting up, and in his head he's saying he cannot lose, like he cannot lose again, because like this will be like, he lost to Kuroki, then he lost to Gerada, now he has so much more motivation. But with that, there is a clash between the dragon shot and the inevitable elbow, and Yamashita, we don't exactly see, it's not exactly clear, but you can tell that they barely dodged each other's attacks here. In fact, Yamashita confirms as much, that yeah, they launched those attacks against one another, but they barely either deflected or evaded those attacks, like by a very thin margin, right? And this won't be the last time we talk about margins, but unfortunately for Agito, the inevitable elbow did sort of land on Agito's chin, so he's concussed. And so Lolong, he takes advantage of the situation to follow up by grabbing his head and going for a knee to basically finish this off. But Agito, we do know normal stuff doesn't even knock him out, and even if he's knocked out, he's not really knocked out. But with that last bit of strength he has, he sort of shifts his body forward so that he will hit Lolong's thigh instead of his knee. And with that, prepares another attack, and it is the dragon shot, and this time he is in close range for that, and the art when he charges this up, like, it is incredible. Like, remember, he is concussed in this moment, but unfortunately for him, he misfires, and we have the iconic line, the dragon shot misfires. But this is where the craziest part of the chapter happens, and that is that there is a follow-up. Lolong did not expect a second. There is a new move in Agito's arsenal, and it is called the twin dragon shot, and you can tell as he's landing it straight clean on Lolong that Agito, he looks out of it. Again, he's concussed in this moment. He has sort of taken damage as well. This is a very extreme situation for Agito. But with that, they both sort of fall over at this point from that entire exchange because they both sustained heavy damage at this point. But Agito, he of course gets up because he had done way more damage. Like Lolong literally took a dragon shot clean on the face. He just doesn't have the type of endurance and durability that Agito has. And with that, we have the narrator say he has gained a new power, which is of course I think the twin dragon shot. That is basically an outcome of his 2 defeats from Kuroki Gensai and Jurata. So he took those 2 mistakes that he had made, like the misfire, as well as in his fight against Jurata, the dragon shot not doing enough damage to Jurata. And his answer to that is to throw another dragon shot in there. But with that, we have Lolong. He sort of has his last thoughts and he says, raise a triumph cry, or a triumphant cry, and that's the name of the chapter. And with that, Agito, he's like, yeah, and that is it. We have a winner. Agito is going to the finals, and that is it. Now, what are my thoughts? Oh my god. As I said before, brilliant chapter. I have a lot of good things to say about this chapter. The choreography was on point from beginning to end. The hype levels was very good from beginning until the end. The character interactions between Lolong and Agito also very good until the end. Like everything works well in this very brief fight, because it's like what, 3 chapters kinda, because this chapter is kinda longer than normal. And so I would say, yeah, it's definitely the best one in this entire tournament, like easily. Like I had a lot of hype for Jurata versus Galang, but this was something else, man. The only problem I have is Lolong losing. And this is of course part of it, and this is why it's not as big of an objection as I would like to make it, is that I had my stocks on Lolong. There was an agenda here that I had. And so I'm sad to see the agenda not swing my way. But there's also the fact that now it's gonna be hard to take Lolong seriously when he's in his next fight, because I think we will see him in another fight. And I believe one of the fights that we will see him in is against Kuroki Gensai, because there was that rematch that Kuroki Gensai wanted to have with Lolong Donaire. It was set up in Kengan vs Purgatory, and at this point he's either going to win or going to suffer another loss in the hands of Kuroki. So that's a very interesting situation. I genuinely believe this fight is going to happen at some point. Maybe what could make it better is Sandro basically did what he did for Lolong here, and that is give Lolong a win against someone who was relatively powerful, because I think Ramon was relatively powerful. It's just that Lolong was just way better than him. He's gonna do that, but I don't know. That's really where my issues with is that Lolong as a character, where does he go from here, right? Because Julius, I know he's a bum. He's gone, right? Justin has a future. Sakigake, we look, no one wants to see him back. Ramon, he's probably going to job again if he comes back. Jurata he's gonna have a future, like he has a future, right? But yeah, like Lolong as a character, where he goes from here is gonna be very interesting. I still like him as a character, but I'm very cautious with him now. I'm like, oh man, Sadrovich didn't give you what I thought he was gonna give you. I'm worried. So yeah, that's that. That's the review and breakdown. Don't forget to like and sub, and until next time, take it easy.